Alright, so I wanted to make a quick video regarding the whole situation of getting my Achilles tendon rupture. Um, at this point, I'm about a little over 5.5 weeks, give or take. So a couple days off of 6 weeks. And it took me about 4.5 weeks to get the surgery. Um, and that's mainly because I wanted to get multiple opinions. I wanted to um, do as much research as I could regarding medical journals, and also trying to figure out, whether or not I should do surgery as a result. It seems that the big highlights from medical journals, in terms of what should be looked at when determining whether or not you want to do surgery, is range of motion, um, re-rupture rates, strength, and I believe that's it. The most important thing for me was actually strength, and that's why I ultimately decided to get surgery done, um, and because I wanted to give myself the best chance to get all my strength back. Since I'm 30 years old, um, my initial rupture date was October 13th, 2023, so a little over a month ago. Probably, like I said, about 5.5 weeks ago. Um, at this point, I'm just trying to. Um, I'm 1 week out. I'm 1 week out from my surgery, so I had my surgery on November 14th, and I had about a week out from that now because today is the 20th, I believe, something like that. And at this point, it's the day before Thanksgiving. Um, Still in my splints. I will be getting my splint removed, I believe, next Monday, and I will then be starting to transition into a walking boot and getting as much walking as I can safely do in order to get myself back into, I guess, walking condition. Um, Key takeaways, I would say, from this kind of injury, um, is to basically understand that it's about a 6 month full recovery process average. Um, the big things you need to ask yourself are, uh, what first of all, where do you live? Because there seems to be a major consensus among people that live in Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom, um, regarding treatment. So it seems like the main form of treatment is conservative or non surgical, and that basically consists of getting it addressed immediately. So you want to make sure that you get your foot, once you know that you have an Achilles tendon rupture, as soon as you can, basically getting your foot into a plantar flexion position, which if this was your foot, let's say, your leg and your foot, you would want to get your foot pointed down, and that would be called that's called a plantar flexion position. Because what it does is with the tendon here, with your foot pointing down, it's actually bringing the ends of the tendon together, assuming that you have a rupture somewhere in the middle. Um, the the rupture that I have is in the middle. Um, and I actually addressed it within an hour of my rupture. My rupture was very painful. It subsided within 5 to 10 minutes to a dull pain. Went to the emergency room, got my foot splinted after a Thompson test, which consists of squeezing the back of your calf or squeezing your calf, and then your foot should reflex downward. If it doesn't, then the main point of checking that is to see that your Achilles tendon is ruptured. If it doesn't reflex, then your Achilles tendon is assumed to be ruptured. You want to confirm that with an MRI. An X-ray will not confirm an Achilles tendon rupture. It only confirms that it's not something else, like a bone, like a broken bone or something like that. Um, first things first, you want to address the Achilles tendon rupture in the first, as soon as you can, within a couple days at most. get your foot into a plantar flexion position, and then um, that basically allows you to determine whether or not you want to do surgery. If you wait too long before doing that, you may be subject to doing surgery because what happens is your Achilles tendon will recede. Um, if you do, if you don't do it immediately, then like I said, you may be subject to getting surgery. But if you do it immediately, then you can get, it buys yourself some time to decide whether or not you want to go the conservative route or the surgical route. And the again, as I said before, the surgical route kind of guarantees or is more likely to or more predictable to guaranteeing that you're going to get your range of motion and your strength back. And also, the only real consensus based off of medical journals is that the re-rupture rate will be lower with surgery as compared to non-surgery. I think the re-rupture rate at this point is about 1.6% of patients for surgery and about 5 to 6% for non-surgery. Um, I'm trying to kind of put all the medical journals that I read together, but it's a little bit hard to remember exactly the numbers. But the main idea is that the re-rupture rate is a lot higher, relatively speaking, for a conservative route. Um, you also need to look at what you want to do. If your lifestyle is very active, then you want to take advantage of that surgery and basically give yourself the ability to add a little bit of certainty to your recovery process and basically I would say get the surgery, assuming that you have a mid tendon rupture. If you have a rupture from the heel, then you basically want to you're basically required to get surgery, I believe, if I remember correctly. And then you have another rupture, which I believe is probably the more complicated rupture, but I don't know much about it. But when the rupture occurs near the calf, I believe that's a lot more complicated, and I think that definitely requires surgery as well. But any mid Achilles tendon ruptures, I believe, don't require surgery, assuming that you address it within a couple days and put your foot into that plantar flexion position. Um, so once you get that done, actually, what you should do as well is also, if you do want to get surgery, like, you definitely want to get surgery. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What you want to do is you want to go to a board certified surgeon. So look up some board certified surgeons in your area. I believe there's a website called certificationmatters.com, and you can check the doctors' names on that website to see if they're board certified, and within what field they're board certified. So they should be board certified as an orthopedic surgeon, and not in some other field. Although I'm not sure sports medicine is considered a separate board certification, but if it is, then it's valid as well. Um, Once you do that, you want to address whether or not you want to get surgery, like I said, but you also want to determine if you do want to get surgery, then the sooner you get it, the more likely you are to get a minimally invasive procedure, which I believe is called PARS, or there might be multiple different kinds, but PARS seems to be a very common one, PARS. You can look that up, it's an acronym for something. And that's basically a minimally invasive procedure. They do a couple incisions at most, I believe, and they basically put you back together using some jigging system. It's pretty fascinating to watch. Um, but if you don't address it soon enough, then you may have to do an open procedure, which is just a bigger incision. It's not that big of a deal. It's a bigger wound. Um, the other thing is that if it does rupture at the heel, then you're more likely to do a speed bridge procedure, and that speed bridge procedure has details I don't know of, but the idea is it's basically drilling or I guess screwing into the bone, maybe the Achilles tendon into the bone. I'm no doctor. Um, so those are the options there. And basically, what you want to do is after you've decided surgery, then your recovery process will be a little bit faster as well compared to the conservative route, according to the research I've done. Um, and that's basically the main gist of everything. I think I'm going to do a separate video for my story for what exactly happened with me. because this is just mainly to help people out in terms of an Achilles tendon rupture and what to think about. Um, oh, one thing I forgot. If you do get an MRI to confirm it, which is not necessarily something that's required by doctors nowadays with that Thompson test that I mentioned, but the MRI usually comes with an MRI report and it indicates, the tear gap. So the distance between the tear of the tendon, so the ends of the tendon where it ruptured, how big that gap is in the middle. It should also indicate how far from the heel, which is also known as the calcaneus, or how far from the calf the rupture occurred in distance, usually centimeters, as that's the scientifically chosen units of measurement, meters, centimeters, etc. And so it'll tell you those two details. It'll tell you how high the grade of the tear is. Um, I don't know exactly what the percentages correlate to what grade of tear. Mine was a high grade tear, which by the MRI actually looks like about a 90% tear, maybe more. So it was almost a full rupture. But at that point, it's essentially treated as such. So if you have any questions, just leave a comment below in the on this video, and I'll try to give you as much information as I can. I did a lot of research, mainly because I spent a lot of time doing it and I asked a lot of doctors, but also I was kind of nervous about getting a surgery. I don't really like getting surgery if I don't have to, and because I was essentially trying to avoid surgery, I did a lot of research to make sure I made an educated decision um, as best as I could, because there's not a lot of consensus, unfortunately, with this type of injury. So, again, if you have any questions or any corrections, even, just feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to check out my other story or my full story, like I said, I'm gonna make a separate video, and that should be a lot. That's just going to be basically, what happened to me, why it happened, and what I think I could have done to maybe even avoid it if possible. But I don't believe injuries are avoidable. It seems they just happen whenever, and you just kind of get unlucky. So again, I will talk to you guys later, and hopefully I remember to link my story in the description of this video, so it's easy to contact or easy to get to. So thanks for watching. I guess feel free to subscribe. I'm going to try to do updates, and I'm going to try to, update the progress that I have here and, let you guys know. So that's my first 5.5 weeks.